We don't deserve dogs. This is Get Details, what you need to know. Dogs have been an essential part of human life for a very long time. Even longer than agriculture, longer than written language, even before the invention of the wheel. Our faithful dogs, Rover, Spot, Rusty, Benji, Rex, and Checkers, were right there at our side. Dogs are unique in the world in that they look to humans as one of their own. If you love a dog, you know what I mean. A lot of times, they don't even know they are dogs. And judging by their intelligence and all the wonderful things that dogs add to our lives, we'd have to agree, they are special. So we're counting down the top 7 dogs who have done something truly outstanding. Now, this is a very short list of a very long line of exceptional canines. Chances are you have a heroic pooch in your family too. Tell us all about it, and be sure to pass this along to other dog lovers you know. These are the top 7 reasons we don't deserve dogs, but we're really glad we've got them. At number 7 is a golden lab named Rosalie. Her owner, a successful computer salesman named Michael Hingson, was at work one morning in New York City. Rosalie was right there with him, as she always was. You could say she was a support animal. Well, Michael worked successfully for many years and had an office on the 78th floor of the World Trade Center. It was a brilliantly beautiful day. The views were amazing. A cold front had moved through the area overnight, and rain had cleared the air remarkably. But Michael didn't notice. By now, you understand what was about to happen. And when the first plane plowed into the building, 15 floors above them, Rosalie, who had been sleeping under her master's desk, quickly jumped up and stood by Michael. He reached for her leash, not to comfort his pal and to guide her out, but to be guided himself. Michael Hingson had been blind since birth, and now he was in the middle of hell on earth. Rosalie stayed amazingly calm and collected despite the noise, smoke, darkness, and confusion. She led her master to stairwell B and then guided him and 30 other people to safety down 1,463 steps. By the time they made it out, the other tower was collapsing. But Rosalie didn't stop there. She then led her master 40 blocks away to a friend's apartment and safety. For those heroic actions, Rosalie will forever be remembered as one of the greatest dogs to ever live. You can read more about her in Michael's book called Thunderdog, the true story of a blind man, his guide dog, and the triumph of trust. It's a New York Times bestseller. This is Get Details, and today we're discussing man's and woman's best friends, our dogs. About 68% of American households have a pet, and of those, dogs are the most popular, with almost 90 million Pooches across the country. If you were wondering, there are about 62 million cats in America as well. But this is Get Details, and the program is called We Don't Deserve Dogs. Now at number 6, we have a German Shepherd named House. He was adopted by the DeLuca family in Florida from a rescue shelter. And before long, he returned the favor. It was a typically perfect day in Tampa. So 7-year-old Molly DeLuca was outside in her grandma's backyard, just having fun, picking flowers and being a kid. When suddenly, the hair on the dog's back stood up. House growled menacingly, and he bared his fangs. He became vicious and snarled. Molly was afraid, but not of the dog. Just a few feet away, within striking distance, one of the most venomous snakes in North America, a large eastern diamondback rattler, signaled its intentions. It seemed to be in a very bad mood. Molly, only in 3rd grade, was in deep danger, and House knew it. So he quickly positioned himself between his little girl and that venomous snake. The rattle was impossible to ignore, and it bothered House immensely. In a courageous but desperate attempt to protect his family, House attacked and blocked the serpent, keeping it from reaching the little girl. He did it 3 times, each time suffering the pain and agony of being punctured by the snake's poisonous fangs. He nearly paid the ultimate price for his actions. Covered with blood, they quickly took House to a vet and got a round of painkillers and anti-venom. It was touch and go for a while, but House did pull through. A GoFundMe was set up for him, and once word got out what he did, dog lovers all over the world pushed the total to over $50,000. After paying House's vet bills, the excess was donated to dog rescue charities. It was possibly the scariest thing anyone in this family had ever seen before. and the most inspiring. The DeLucas still have their daughter, thanks to one incredible dog named House. And at last report, he's doing great too. This is the kind of show we love to do, reporting on heartwarming stories you want to hear. Be sure to click subscribe so you can find us again next time. This is a Get Details Top 7 list, and time now for number 5. It's July 1917. The Great War, which would later become known as World War I, was raging in Europe. The United States had tried to stay out of it by remaining neutral for over 3 years. But after a German U-boat sunk the ocean liner Lusitania and then threatened shipping lanes, President Woodrow Wilson asked Congress for a declaration of war. That brought the 102nd Infantry to Yale University for training. The men would drill day in and day out, getting ready to head overseas to fight the enemy. As they did their daily regimen, a dog of undiscernible lineage would watch. He was really just a stray. He didn't have a home, so he hung around and gobbled whatever scraps he could find. Before too long, the soldiers really took a liking to him, and they named him Stubby, because of the way he was built. One of the men in particular, a corporal named James Conroy, was especially fond of the dog. So when it was time to ship out, he smuggled Stubby onto the ship and kept him concealed as much as possible during the voyage. He then smuggled him under his overcoat once he arrived in France. Little did Conroy realize what a fateful action that would be. He did his best to keep Stubby under wraps, but word got out, and before long, Conroy and his dog were face to face with the camp's commanding officer. Stubby saluted him, as he had been trained to do in camp, and that's all it took. He was allowed to stay, and actually became the camp's mascot. But this was no French vacation. The 102nd Infantry saw a lot of action. In 18 months, Stubby served right along beside him, through 4 offensives and 17 battles. He was under constant fire day and night, as they all were. He took shrapnel in his front leg from a German grenade, and once he recovered, he went back to the front and served in the trenches wearing a specially designed gas mask. His keen senses allowed Stubby to warn his unit of mustard gas attacks, find wounded soldiers in no man's land, and warn of incoming artillery shells before they could be heard by humans. He was also responsible for capturing a German spy all by himself, by holding the seat of the spy's pants tightly in his teeth until the good guys got there. That earned him a promotion to sergeant. The women of the town made him a special coat of chamois leather, where as many medals were pinned. After the war, Sergeant Stubby and his buddy Conroy returned home as heroes, especially Stubby. He met 2 presidents and appeared on many vaudeville stages, and was awarded a lifetime membership at the YMCA. Stubby lived until March 1928. His final resting place isn't some peaceful spot under a tree. No, Sergeant Stubby is part of the permanent collection at the Smithsonian National Museum of American History in Washington, D.C. We really don't deserve dogs, do we? Our lives are so much better because of them, but there have been some other animals that have done heroic things too, like Lulu the Vietnamese pot-bellied pig, Jumbo the gorilla, and Mila the beluga whale. They'll all be featured in future Get Details episodes, so be sure to like and subscribe. Next, let's turn back the clock to 1966. The FIFA World Cup trophy was an amazing work of art that was valued for its beauty and as a symbol of the championship. The Jules Rimet Trophy was usually kept at the Football Association headquarters at Lancaster Gate, but the Stanley Gibbons Stamp Company arranged to display the precious trophy in their exhibition on the condition that it be guarded 24/7. The trophy was also insured for £30,000. 2 uniformed officers guarded the trophy around the clock, reinforced by 2 plainclothes officers during the day. Additional guards were on duty when the exhibition was open, but apparently nobody was watching the trophy all the time. On Sundays, the hall was used for Methodist church services. So, on Sunday, March 20th, 1966, the guards discovered someone had stolen the trophy, apparently during a church service. Somehow, none of the guards saw anything suspicious, and it was quite perplexing. Scotland Yard took over and started their investigation. But it was no use. There were a couple of descriptions of possible suspects, but nothing concrete. The FA was beginning to worry they would never see that trophy again. Then the ransom note arrived. It demanded £15,000 in 1 and 5 pound denominations. The note said the FA should place a coded message in the personal ads of the evening news. If they followed all the instructions to the letter, they would get the trophy back. But surprise, things didn't go to plan. And along the way, the police bungled the chase and got set up. And eventually, they lost the thieves and the trophy. Later, one of the thieves was arrested, but he denied any connection. And they were at a dead end. No one knew where the Jules Rimet trophy was. Which brings us to an important moment. On the 27th of March 1966, a man named David Corbett was walking his dog named Pickles. The cute doggy was a 4-year-old black and white collie mix. Pickles was quite rambunctious and he loved to walk through the park. And that's where it happened. Just 7 days after it went missing, Pickles started sniffing around a package wrapped in newspaper lying by the front wheel of a parked car. You know what was inside. For a short while, Pickles' owner was under suspicion of stealing it, but he was able to prove his whereabouts. England would go on to win the cup, and Pickles was invited to the banquet. Corbett got a 4,000-pound reward, and Pickles ended up with a silver medal. You know, for a lot of us, our dogs are our kids. Even if we have human children, you better not mess with our dogs. They see us at our best and at our worst. And if you have a dog that lives with you, they never laugh when they see you naked. I always thought you could tell a lot about a person by the way they treat their dog. And I'll bet Debbie Parkhurst of Calvert, Maryland feels the same way. At number 3, she was the very lucky owner of a golden retriever named Toby. Like most Goldies, Toby was very energetic and loved to be physical with his affections. It was not unusual for him to jump up to be petted, even though Debbie had tried to break him of that habit. But actually, it's a good thing she didn't. One day, she was enjoying a very tasty apple when a piece of it became lodged in her throat. She tried not to panic, but it was really hard. She tried performing the Heimlich maneuver on herself without any luck. Now, that may sound strange, but it is possible to Heimlich yourself. But it was too deeply lodged. Debbie started beating on her chest frantically, trying anything to dislodge that chunk of apple. The next thing she knew, Toby was on his hind legs and had his paws on her shoulders. She told the news crews later he pushed her to the ground, and once she was on her back, he began jumping up and down on her chest. That's when the blockage was dislodged, and Toby started licking her face, preventing her from passing out. Debbie said she literally had paw print-shaped bruises on her chest, but she was alive, and it's all thanks to a very remarkable dog named Toby. This is Get Details, and this is my very favorite kind of program, happy endings and dogs. 2 things I love, and I bet you feel the same way. Today, we're talking about some amazing, legendary dogs who did courageous things to save human lives. A lot of police and military canines could qualify for this list, like Nemo, the Vietnam hero shepherd, who alerted his handler despite being wounded, or Valdo, a bomb-sniffing dog in Afghanistan. He shielded 4 troops against a rocket-propelled grenade and took the brunt of the shrapnel. His action saved lives, and he recovered from his injuries. And there's Luca, an incredibly brave military dog who lost her leg while protecting a platoon of Marines from a roadside bomb. And don't forget the other working dogs like service dogs, therapy dogs, herding, search and rescue, and detection dogs for bombs, drugs, and many other items. Many of these dogs will be featured in upcoming Get Details episodes, so be sure to subscribe so you won't miss any. Now, let's bring in the number 2 incredible canine. It was a pleasant morning in Ringwood, New Jersey. Joe, a Yorkshire Terrier, was enjoying the sunshine with his human, Deborah Epstein. There was a gentle breeze and they were just relaxing when the phone rang. Deborah got up to answer it, leaving the front door open. After all, Ringwood is a nice, small, friendly place. But that was a mistake. As soon as she picked up the phone, she heard Joe the dog barking like crazy on the front porch. He always barked when anyone came by. But this was different, more urgent and disturbing to Deborah. When she turned around, she found out why. There was a bear in her house. It was headed straight for Joe's food bowl, and he was having none of it. The little 6-pound dog started attacking the 100-pound bear. You don't dare touch Joe's food bowl. The terrier barked, lunged, and nipped at the bear until it turned tail and ran out the door. Joe not only defended his kibbles, but he also saved his owner. And she says next time, she'll be more careful to close that door. So far, we've counted down 6 amazingly heroic dogs. But this is a top 7 countdown. But before we can get to that point, we need to give you a little background. In Alaska, in the early part of the 20th century, there was a great dog musher and breeder named Leonard Sepp Seppala. He was well known for having the best sled dogs in the region, and he worked hard to earn that reputation. His kennel raised dozens of champion sled dogs admired by mushers all over Alaska. It's not easy being a sled dog. It takes an animal that can handle the cold first of all, like a husky, Malamute, or Samoyed. It was hard, never-ending work training the dogs to be good at pulling a sled without turning it over, or fighting with each other, or fighting with other teams. Learning all the commands and behaviors was easier for Sepp's dogs because of his unique technique. He was known for being extra close to his animals. They weren't his pets, they were his friends, and he treated them with love and respect. And they gave it back by being excellent sled dogs. But there was one pup that seemed to be nothing but trouble. He was so high-spirited and difficult, Sepp was pretty sure he'd never amount to anything. He was sickly as a young pup, and probably missed out on some of the important early training. So at the age of 6 months, Sepp gave the dog called Sugo to someone as a pet. But that didn't last long. After only a few weeks, Sugo jumped through the glass of a closed window and ran several miles back to his original master's place. Sepp was impressed by the dog's devotion and decided to give him one more chance. But Sugo didn't understand the concept of one more chance. He'd cause all kinds of trouble, no matter where he was. He'd distract the other dogs from their duties and encourage the team to charge after reindeer instead of sticking together. So Sepp had no choice but to put Sugo in a harness with all the other dogs. He held his breath as he tightened the buckles. But to his surprise, the harness caused the dog to settle right down. And before long, he was one of the strongest and most intelligent dogs on the team, and was moved up to the front position, right beside the experienced lead dog. Sugo himself was a natural leader, and one of the most intelligent dogs that Seppala had ever known, a complete 180 from just a couple of months before. He was so impressed, he changed the dog's name to Togo, after the famous Japanese general. Because of his spunk and determination, Togo was now Sepp's #1 dog. It was January 1925, the middle of the Alaska winter, deep in a blizzard. Up in the small town of Nome, things were looking grim. An epidemic of diphtheria was raging. There was vaccine. Over 300,000 units were delivered to Nenana, Alaska, but that was 674 miles from Nome. An impossible distance in the middle of such terrible weather with deep drifts and dangerously cold winds. Temperatures were estimated to be about 30 degrees below zero, or minus 34 Celsius. The batches of vaccine were being sent in relays across numerous dog teams and mushers who fought the odds and the most inhospitable conditions imaginable to carry the serum across the frozen, forbidding wasteland. Seppala had several teams in the relay, and he himself was one of the mushers. He and his team, led by Togo, ran the longest legs of the entire Great Race of Mercy, as it came to be called, a total of 260 miles. They had to cross ice which was breaking up despite the fact that temperatures had dropped to minus 40, and the wind picked up to 65 miles an hour, enough to lift the team off the ground. But Togo always landed ready to run. They had to cross Little McKinley Mountain climbing 5,000 feet. After descending to the next roadhouse, Seppala passed the serum on to Charlie Olson, who in turn would pass it on to Gunnar Kasson and Balto. It was Balto who history remembers as the lead dog in the Race of Mercy. And he was a strong, intelligent, amazing dog. He had also been trained by Seppala. The serum arrived in time to save many lives in Nome. And Balto became the most famous dog in the world and is celebrated to this day. But there is another that deserves just as much, if not more credit, for the success of this run and all the lives that were saved. As Sepp Seppala said, "I have never seen a better dog than Togo. His stamina, loyalty, and intelligence could not be improved upon. Togo was the best dog that ever traveled the Alaska Trail." And we completely agree. That's why Togo is our top dog. Now you know why we say, we don't deserve dogs. This is Get Details. I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for watching. Give your dog a hug. And if you don't have a dog, go adopt one from a shelter. Your life will be so much richer for it. Hey, thanks for being so cool. Give us a like and subscribe on the way out. And check out some of our other unique videos too. And remember, it's okay to be smart.